Well, hi everybody. My name is, okay, fill in the blank. All right, you got it. What's her name? You got it. Okay. So in case you didn't know, your first time with us, which I hope certainly isn't the case, I'm Andy Greenberg, and with me is...
I'm Carol Greenberg.
And what we're going to be talking about, again, she has no idea because she is going to act like the audience because we want to make this as just about interactive as we possibly can. So here we go. Carol, who is the wisest man in Jewish history? The wisest man in Jewish history.
I'm going to say Maimonides.
Maimonides was a brilliant man. Yes, he was brilliant. Who was the wisest man? And
Solomon.
Solomon. Is that it? Solomon? Was his first name?
King Solomon.
King Solomon. Yes, King Solomon. And by the way, the wisdom of King Solomon will impact you, and me today. Now you're asking yourself, why? I never even met the dude. Well, you know what? He is as famous in the world of motivation as Tony Robbins. But here's the difference.
Maybe they don't even know who Tony Robbins is.
Oh, if you don't know who Tony Robbins is, there was late night TV way back when in the beginning of the infomercials, and he was the guy that had the most infomercials talking about motivation, and it was really pretty good. He had a series of books, and I must admit that I've listened to and read many of his books and his tapes when I was younger. So he was famous for motivation, and I don't mean to be derogatory, but there was some physical characteristic of his that kind of like stood out. And he wasn't Jewish. Any idea?
His height.
He was tall. Good. What else? His teeth.
His teeth?
Yeah, he always had like big teeth. Yeah, I don't have a picture of him. Maybe I should have, but his teeth. But that's not important. Now, what stood out about King Solomon? Some things you probably don't know. So what we're going to do for a few minutes is give you some background about King Solomon, things you never knew, and you know my old saying, if you learn something that you haven't known before, what should you do?
Get your money back from your Hebrew school teacher.
Yeah, because they should have taught you this stuff. All right, so here we go. I think probably one of the most famous things about King Solomon, there were two things, is number one, how many wives did he have?
A lot?
You didn't know?
Yes, I know he had a lot, but I don't know how many.
Got to get your money back.
700
That's
wives?
it, 700
wives. Oh my
wives.
goodness, 700 wives.
We don't rehearse this. 700 wives,
700 wives.
Was he happy with his 700 wives?
Well, obviously not if he kept getting more and more wives.
Yeah, but there's another reason he wasn't happy with his 700 wives.
Because he didn't have children?
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
He had 300
concubines.
Concubines, yes, 1,000 women. Why were they attracted to this man? Well, number one, there's power. Okay, no question about it. We know power attracts women. Maybe, I don't know. Wait a minute. Do I have power?
You can. You have power.
But did my power attract you to me?
No.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So, I don't have any power, but King Solomon had power. We'll talk a little bit about more. What else do you think he had?
Money.
How much money?
Wealth.
How much wealth?
I don't know how much he had, but he must have had a lot. To support 700 wives and 300 concubines in style, I'm not sure.
Oh, you see the way she did that
style?
In style. Whoa. So, he, in today's world, would have been worth, ready for this? 1.3
billion, million, billion,
trillion.
Trillion.
$1.3 trillion. Now the question comes up, where did he get all his money from? See, these are things you probably didn't know. Where did he get all his money from? Well, I'm not going to talk about any modern day character or person that you might be familiar with, but I want you to envision something. Somebody living in a house or apartment, and every piece of furniture is made out of
gold.
Gold. You know anybody like that? Don't mention the people's names. King Solomon had every piece of furniture in gold. He got his money because people from around the world came to him, not only Jews, for his wisdom and gave him gifts for his wisdom, which was absolutely brilliant, by the way. And he also collected taxes, which, by the way, he kind of kept some of that stuff. And he was really extremely wealthy. And that's where he got all his money from. Now, I'm going to explain to you a little bit later where he got his wisdom from, or so the story says. Now, there's another story about King Solomon. I'm not going to tell it because if you don't know this one, that's something wrong. The story with the babies, the two women with the babies. Hopefully they taught you that in school. I'm not going to review that. But he wrote 3 books. Ecclesiastics, the Song of Songs, and a book called the Proverbs. And the Proverbs are what we're going to be talking about today. So, just to ask you, do you know what a proverb is?
It's like a saying. The early bird gets up with the worm.
Okay, all right.
Something like
yeah,
that.
the early bird gets the worm, but
the early bird gets the worm.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. And he wrote, and that's what the book is. But these things, we're going to go over some of them, are absolutely brilliant, and we're going to try and adopt them to your time. Now, the other thing is...
Your time meaning our time.
Yeah, well, your time, our time.
Your time.
Our time.
Our time.
Our time.
All of it.
Your time.
Our time.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that correction. And the other thing about King Solomon, and you've been to Israel, I've been to Israel, and people are still looking for King Solomon's...
grave.
Mines.
His what?
Mines, M-I-N-E-S.
Mine. Oh, the mines where he had all he had his wealth.
His wealth. And people today, you talk about treasure hunt. What was that movie with? Oh my God.
The
National Treasure. Yeah. So you remember They're very good. We don't rehearse this. National Treasure. And one of your favorite actors was starring?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. And he was looking for treasure. They are still looking for Solomon's treasure because they know that somewhere is millions, billions, trillions of dollars of gold worth trillions of dollars. So these are the things you didn't know about him. I'm going to give you one more. It is also said that he had a shield. He had a shield. And that shield was the very first representation using 2 triangles, one on top of the other. And by the way, if you think of 2 triangles, one on top, the Star of David. And by the way, what was the relationship? I think you know this. What was the relationship between Solomon and King David?
I don't know.
Okay, that's all right. Solomon was King David's son.
Oh.
Okay, there you go. So Solomon was King David's son. So let's move on. I think we talked a lot about King Solomon. Now it's time to get into some other background. So, question, and I know everybody thinks differently. Is the world black and white?
Is the world black
and white?
No.
What is it?
It's gray.
What does that mean?
It means it's a combination. If you mix black and white, you get gray. Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between. King Solomon did not believe that.
He believed that it was black and white?
It's a black and white world. And his proverbs are centered around the world being black or white, or right or wrong. And that was his entire feeling when he wrote these Psalms. And one other, justice and injustice. No place in between. Now, should that apply to modern day times? Are we living in areas that we just put too much gray area and forget about black and white?
We are living in a gray area.
Yeah. Is black and white a better way to live?
When it comes to law and order, I think it is.
Okay, I don't want to get political, but okay, law and order it is. Now, you've known me for 57 years, I think. Married 57 years. Am I black and white or gray?
You like to hear both sides of the story. So, however you position yourself, you like to hear both sides of the story.
But my decision, and my outlook on life is
black and white.
Black and white. Yeah.
Black and white.
Yeah. And now, does that mean I have the wisdom of King Solomon?
No.
Oh, thanks. Not even close?
No, I didn't say you. I mean, what am I supposed to measure? You said he was. What am I supposed to measure with? So,
right.
I mean,
that's good comeback. All right. So most of the time, it is not difficult. Well, before I do it, is it difficult to recognize right versus wrong?
No.
No.
No. But there are people that don't know right from wrong.
Is it difficult in walking through life knowing the difference between right and wrong and what to do? That's the question. And King Solomon attempts to answer that for us whether we are doing something good or whether we are doing something bad. And that is how it works with him. Because in King Solomon, the message is in the story rather than the history. Now, this is very important. Many of our Jewish scholars rely on history. He does not rely on history. He relies on modern day times. So I'm going to give you some input.
He relies on facts.
He relies on facts, yes. Facts that are black and white. So here we go. Ben Franklin. You know Ben Franklin?
Yep.
American hero. We know that. Not going to get much into that. He had a saying. Here it is. A penny saved is a
penny earned.
Yeah. So you might ask yourself, what does that have to do with King Solomon?
Yeah, what did that have to do with King Solomon?
I'm going to show you how King Solomon's influence was directly used by Ben Franklin. Because here is the original one. And as you always do, challenge me if you think I'm going crazy. Here it is. Here's what King Solomon wrote. Wealth hastily gotten will dwindle, but those who gather little by little will increase it.
So basically that means an honest living saved will get you further than something that you got.
In other words, a penny saved is a penny earned. The more pennies you have, what does that mean? You save it. And thereby, now we can see how that works. Now, I'm going to prove it to you. You're going to think I'm nuts. Recently, 2 people won gobbles worth of money. I don't know what gobbles were. Lots of money. Okay? One guy or person or woman won $730 million. And recently, somebody won $1 billion. I think you saw the news. So, with that being said, would you want to win the billion? Would you want to win the 730 million?
Sure, why not?
Aha! You see, the answer is no. Now, did we buy lottery tickets? Yeah. But you see, the answer is no. Why is it no? Because what we're going to learn a little bit later, people who inherit money overnight, just like that, have a miserable life. And it's proven in today's times because if you really look at all the folks, most of the folks, that have won millions of dollars.
Yeah, you just said you want the 733 million or you want the 1 million. So either way.
But either one of them are going to have a miserable life. Why? Because those that have won big jackpots, first of all, most of them have squandered it away. Some of them have been murdered. Why? For their money. And some of them had escaped attempted murder. Now, here's the question. Who was the one that either killed them or attempted to kill them?
Who?
Yeah.
People that were after their money.
Yeah, what kind of people?
Not good people.
Nope. They're relatives.
They're relatives. Wow.
Yeah, it's a true story. Look it up. They're brothers, they're sisters, and the whole 9 yards. Okay?
Wow.
So that really seems to be true. So let me go ahead and give you the opening of the book of Proverbs, and let's see whether or not this resonates with you. Here we go. It's a little bit long. Just bear with me. Listen carefully. These are the Proverbs and parables of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. A guide to insight, understanding, and spiritual discipline, to help you become generous, honest, and balanced. They are offered to the simple, that they may gain knowledge, to the young, that they may find direction, to the learned, that they may peer behind the words and attain wisdom. For I speak in riddles, both simple and profound, wise words that hide deeper meanings. That's the way that opens up. What do you think about that?
Maybe some things appear to be simple, but they have much more. If you dig deeper, they have much more meaning.
Yes, and that's what we're going to test some of those concepts. Now, here's something else. The book that we're talking about, the book of Proverbs, was not published during King Solomon's times. It was published well after.
So he write any of those Proverbs?
Yes, but nobody.
So how did they find him?
They found him. They found him, and they knew them, and they credited him. It's almost like the Mishnah and the Talmud, which was oral law handed down from generation to generation. Now, there are some entries in the book of Proverbs which are admittedly not King Solomon's, and in fact, they belong to someone else. So, and they do provide who the author is. Now, here comes an interesting part. Where did King Solomon get his wisdom? So I'm going to tell you a story, and again, we'll stop in the middle of it, and then we'll see whether or not this makes sense. Here we go. Here's the story. It's a legend. As Gideon, the Lord, appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and at Gideon, which is a place, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, ask what I should give you. Let's pause. If you had a dream in the middle of the night, and God says, what can I give you? What would you wish for?
Wow. I don't know. I have to think about that. Really, I...
Come up with the first thing on your mind. The tape's running out.
I think I would wish for good health forever.
Good health forever. Okay. And Solomon said, you have shown great and steadfast love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart to you, and you have kept him from this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on the throne today. So the first thing he did was praise God and thank God, which, by the way, follows the concept of prayer. And now, O Lord my God, you made your servant king in place of my father David. Although I am only a child, I do not endow how to go out or come in. And as your servant in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people so numerous that they cannot be counted. Here it is. Give your servant an understanding mind to govern people, able to discern between good and evil, for who can govern of it, please the Lord, that Solomon has asked. In other words, did he ask anything for his own self-benefit?
No.
He asked it for other people. Okay, here it goes. God said to him, because you have asked this, and have not asked for yourself long life or riches, or the life of your enemies be taken, but have asked yourself for understanding to discern what is right, I will now give you the skill to do that. And Solomon woke up and said, wow, I am loaded with wisdom. I am going to help the world. I'm going to help my Jewish people. And as many of us know, who was the one that was responsible for building the first temple? King Solomon. So he was really, really, really busy doing that. All right. He wrote 4 books.
I wonder if he had a headache when he woke up.
It could have been. He wrote 4 books. And the first one is the 9 foundational teachings. And the second one is shorter sayings. The third one are 30 precepts of wisdom. The fourth one is sayings of Solomon's contemporaries. Remember I said he didn't write the whole thing. And the second collection of shorter sayings. So let's go on with the saying. And then we're going to talk about the style of writing, but I just want to give you some type of a clue. Here we go. It's very short. The wise learn from the softest whisper. The ignorant sleep through the loudest alarm. Whew, what do you think that means? And how can we apply that to today's life? You want me to say it again? Okay, what do you think it means?
I mean, those that argue really are ignorant. Those that listen to the advice of others might learn some more.
Okay, that's one interpretation. The other interpretation is as follows. The wise learn from the softest whisper. What does that mean? You remember when COVID first came out? It was a whisper.
Right.
It was a whisper. And if everybody...
you're saying that people, because it was a whisper, people didn't pay attention.
Correct.
Until it got really loud and in your face.
Correct.
Then people started paying attention.
The ignorant slept through the loudest alarm. Now, I'm not necessarily directing this toward any government or political entity or direction. I'm talking about the world. Now, one could say, all right, nobody knew this thing would happen so quickly and badly. I got that. But here's another important point in our lifetime, which this has to do with. Watch this. What is the biggest problem in solving a problem? What's the biggest problem in solving?
Getting people to listen.
You're very close. You're very close.
Getting people to agree.
Very close. And it's also not only people, it's also ourselves.
It's making yourself heard.
Very close. Here it is. Admitting that there is a problem. That's what he's talking about. Admitting that there is a problem. Now, I want to show you something. I'm not the wisest guy in the world, but when I was in business, we were problem solving. And the problem is, watch that, people didn't want to problem solve. So one time I raised my hand. I said, you know, guys, we actually had an instructor come in and teach us. So I told the instructor, you're wrong. You're wrong in your approach, because his approach was identify the problem, come up with the root cause of the problem, go ahead and find alternatives to the problem, and execute your alternatives. I said, you're wrong. And my boss, who paid for this dude, and the dude, and all the folks around me said, oh boy, there goes Andy. He's getting fired. He's opening up his big mouth again. But the guy was nice, and he said, well, what do you mean I'm wrong? I said, very simple. The first step is admitting that there is a problem.
And what did they say?
They were shocked at my wisdom. All right. It's true. I'm not making this up. All right. So let's, there's a whole bunch of others, but we're going to talk about his style. Listen to this. This is really, this is seichel. Seichel means brains. Listen to this. The first, and we'll give you examples of each. Here we go. The first form of the way he wrote is X equals Y, which means what? If this, then that. Got it? If this, then that. Okay. And the second way that he wrote it, X does not equal Y, which means the opposite. Complicated?
X equals Y, this and that.
Right.
And this one, the opposite. So with that, not this.
Yeah. Now, the third pattern, ready for this? X is like Y.
Is like Y?
Is like Y.
Yeah.
Which means what? That there is a relationship between the two. Now, one can argue and say, hey, Andy, that certainly sounds like a gray area. Okay? And that would really, really, really be a good argument. And he's got a few more. Listen to this. This is great thinking, by the way. The more of X, the more of Y. The more you have of one, the more you have of the other. Okay? And, of course, the less you have of one, the less you have of others. So, for example, your good name is your greatest treasure. Your reputation is more precious than silver or gold. And we're going to talk about that. And, of course, what does that mean? That means it is you have more of one and the other, or the less of. And it equals each other. I'm talking in riddles. One more. Happiness illumines the people in joy, but a sad heart shrouds in deepest darkness. All right. Now, let's go to some and really figure these out. Are you ready for these? Really trying to figure out what the guy's saying. Here we go. Boom. When you go forth to trap a bird, what do you spread? Let me rephrase that. When you go forth to trap a bird, what do you find spread grain to lure it in? In other words, what kind of grain do you use to lure the bird in? Right? Got it. The bird takes the grain. Got it. Then what do?
Try to trap the bird.
Trap the bird. You read this before?
No.
Very good. You trap the bird. Now, this is where X equals Y. Here it is. Beautiful. When evil seeks to entrap you, it does the same. Desire takes the place of grain, and you are no smarter than the
other
bird.
Than the bird.
Okay. So in plain English, what does that mean? That means that the bird is going to be trapped. You put a food out there. I hate to say this. I'm going to use a different example. It might be a little bit more understanding. Hate to say it. It's like the old rat trap. You put a piece of cheese. The cheese goes there. The mouse trap falls on the mouse's head, and that's the end of the mouse. But what he's saying...
Some mouses are much more clever, and they'll get the cheese out.
Yeah, very few. But you're right. So what he's teaching us is when somebody does evil, What is it that they are going after? A desire for something that they know is forbidden. And the moment evil does that, then you are trapped. So, what he's trying to teach us is never ever let desire for something that you know is wrong impact and affect who you are and doing good. Now, is that totally crazy? What do you think?
No, not totally crazy.
Nope.
Because that's what happens with greed. You lose your balance. You
Right.
lose your balance when you're greedy and you forget about everything else except going after that greed.
So another way to look at it too is peer groups. Peer groups. Now there are two types of peer groups, right? There's the good one and the bad one. Now, does the good one really go and tries to attract your desire? Yeah, you bet. Desire to learn more, desire to grow more, desire to be a more righteous person. The evil one gives you bad things like drugs, like alcohol, and all those, and that's how they lure you into evil so that they can benefit from your misery and your desire. All right, let's move on.
And that's
Yes.
the old proverb.
Go ahead.
Misery loves company.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go to another one. A little shorter, a little different. The disciplined live, the lazy are lost. What does that mean? The disciplined live, the lazy are lost. What does that mean?
You have a goal, you know where you're going. If you don't know what you're doing, you're lost.
You have a plan.
You have a plan.
So here's how we can relate that to our life. I think these things are deep. Here we go. Ever go on a vacation?
Yes?
Yeah. Do you just leave the house and you say, hey, I'm going to go wherever the wind takes me?
No, you plan your vacation, where you're going, what are you going to see, where you're going to pack, how you're going to get there, blah, 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 blah.
Yep, exactly right. So you're disciplined. Do you use that same discipline when you plan things to do in your life? If you don't, you're lazy. You let it to chance. And when you let it to chance, what happens? You get lost. You see how these things work? Go ahead.
Yes, but there's just a case for spontaneity. Once in a while, you don't always you have a plan for the things that mean something.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are times you need to be spontaneous.
Oh, wow. So give me an example.
but-
Give me an example of that. Come on.
I mean, if you get up in the day and you have a free day and you don't have, it's great to have anything planned. You say, what am I going to do today? And an idea hits you and you say, oh, that's a great idea. That's being spontaneous.
Okay,
Whatever.
it is. Do you want to argue with King Solomon?
What?
You want to argue with King Solomon? You see why she's good. She represents you. She's good. She's good. But I'm going to come back at you. Should a person live a spontaneous life
Not
all the time? Thank
no,
you very
but
much.
I'm saying there's room, just like
But
there's
spontaneity,
room.
watch the word. Spontaneity does not mean lazy.
No. It
Okay.
means on the spur of the moment.
Right, and that's okay. Let's move on. Here we go.
Move on.
Watch this. Just as vinegar sets your teeth on edge and smoke stings your eyes, light-hearted effort is doomed to failure. Deep thinker, right? Just as vinegar sets your teeth on edge and smoke stings your eyes, light-hearted effort is doomed to failure. Okay, so what does that mean? And I might as well get a shovel because I'm gonna bury myself. Sometimes someone says to you, hey, let's do this. It's hard for you to do it. I understand. So what do? You use the word I will.
Think about it.
No, I will try.
I will try.
So you try and you fail. You fail. Okay, so what do? Hey, I tried. That's okay, I tried.
I'm not doing it again.
I'm not doing it again. I tried it. Failed. That's lighthearted. King Solomon said thousands of years ago, lighthearted effort is doomed to failure. And I got to compliment this one. And I think I did this once before, but I'm going to do it again. When she had her adult bat mitzvah, it wasn't easy for her. It's not easy for anybody. And she said, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be lighthearted. And she studied and she practiced. And she did magnificent as an adult bat mitzvah. It was a thing of beauty to watch. That's lightheartedness. You got to put a lot of things into it. All right, here we go. Another one. Wonder enhances life. Worry shortens it. How do we use that in our life?
Don't worry about the things you can't control. Be open to new and creative things.
Yeah. So
be open to different ways
Okay.
of doing things.
yeah. So what they're really saying is, if you have a problem, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. What are you supposed to do? Wonder how you're going to solve it. Now, I understand, and I know this one's tough, and God, nobody should face medical issues. I got it, okay? Take that aside for a moment. But in life, sometimes we worry. We worry. Does that help us? No. Does our stress level go up? No. But for those
Yes,
things,
stress level
it goes up. Yes, I'm sorry, but thank you very much. But for those things where you wonder about how to overcome it, that's where it works for you. So okay, go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
If you're wondering about how to solve the problem, then you're really worrying about it.
No. I'm so glad you said that.
I mean, how am I going to solve this problem? It's a form of worry. How am I going to solve this problem? It's a form of worry.
No. See, I'm going to help you out.
Oh, help me out.
Okay. What is it that I need to do to solve the problem? That's not worry.
What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right?
What am I not doing?
Blah.
Okay, now there's another way to look at it. And I will take credit for this. This is what I call an Andyism, which has, actually, they were in my book. So this is what's called, it isn't called Andyism, but now that I think about it, I really should have called it Andyism. Just to wonder about it, not to worry about it. So, and to expand the mind. So, many times people say, I am going to find an answer. I am going to find the solution to my problem. I hate that. I hate it. Stupid. Why do I hate that? I'm going to find a problem. No, why do you think I hate it? Here's why I hate it. Because when you find it, that means it already is in existence. And whoever solved the same problem you have has a different personality, a different background, different ethics, different upbringing. They're nothing like you whatsoever. So I always say, I'm not going to find a solution. I am going to create a solution to the problem that impacts me directly. And then I'm going to take the steps. What am I going to do? Just like King Solomon says. All right, Carol, how are we doing so far?
Interesting. Mind-boggling.
All right, here we go. The righteous anticipate only gladness. The hope of the wicked is tainted by fear. The righteous anticipate only gladness. The hope of the wicked is tainted by fear.
Optimism and negativity.
It's exactly right, to a point. So if you're optimistic and you're righteous, you're going to be glad. Now, I know what you're saying. You say, you can't be optimistic all the time. You watch the news, the whole thing is full of troubles, it's full of pessimism. The world is falling apart, it's coming to an end. I'm stuck in my apartment. I can't do this and I can't do that. I got it. And there's another way to look at it. And this actually someone taught me. I forget who it is, but I'm not going to plagiarize it. I think I mentioned this to you. Here's the way I would use this. You know the old expression, there's a light at the end of the tunnel? Okay,
We're hearing that a lot these days.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at it. Watch this. And I'm going to prove to you you're an optimistic person. When I said to you light at the end of the tunnel,
yeah.
Okay, what did you envision?
Like you're struggling, and when you get to this thing, everything is fine.
Okay, so that's the optimistic point of view.
Yeah.
All right, boom. The pessimistic point of view is there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's the light on the train that's coming to you, about to run you over.
Wow.
Okay? Now, if you didn't think of that, somebody taught me this. If you didn't think of that, then you're an optimistic person. And you're a righteous person. Because I got to tell you, what is Judaism all about? Forget about righteousness for a moment. What is Judaism all about? Optimism. Survival, growth, success. And the wicked, they're tainted by fear. What does it mean the wicked are tainted by fear? If you do something wrong, what are you most concerned about?
Getting caught.
And that's fear. There you go. Therefore, don't do anything wrong. Easy to say. All right. Now, Carol, before I continue, do these apply to today's world?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Now, I'm going to use a word, and don't be offended. It's King Solomon's words. Here we go. Love is knowledge, and you will value discipline. Okay? The stupid are deaf to criticism.
No, I don't take offense. They're just saying the stupid do not hear what's going on. They're not taking it in. That's his language of saying they're not taking it in. It's not getting through to them.
Yeah. So is criticism good or not?
Is criticism what?
Good or not?
Criticism is good.
Yeah. But
because criticism is good depending on how it's given.
Yes. So if someone has criticism for you, okay, if they do it out of knowledge, love is knowledge, and you will take value, discipline. Because when someone criticizes you, don't they say to you, you're doing this, there is a better way to do this. I'm not going to use the word wrong. There is a better way to do it. Is correct?
Yes.
And I need a shovel because I'm burying myself. Notice I never bury her, by the way. Of all the times you've watched this, ever see that happen? No. And you won't, by the way. So, it's like the old expression. I'm going to switch topics for a moment. What are the two most famous words in a marriage? You know what it is, right? What is it? Yes, dear. Right? Everybody says that's what keeps a marriage together. Okay? I don't know if we've ever done this before. And who is the one that's always saying yes, dear? It is the husband. So let's break that mold and say to me, yes, dear. Oh, did you see that sarcasm?
Yes,
Yeah. Like you really mean it. All right. So let's go back here. So when you're criticizing someone, right? You want to show them a different way to do it. And what does that mean? It is discipline. This is the order it should be done in. This is the process it should be done in.
Okay, and so most times when you tell someone, let me show you a better way, or let me show you how I can make this a little bit easier for you, most people resist that and think it's criticism. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was slicing some celery just before, and she said, Andy, there's a different way to do that. And yeah, I got, don't tell them, I know how to do them. I've been chopping celery for years. My father used to chop celery when he made tuna for sandwiches. Another story. But to the point, she's right. But if I would pay attention and take away my insecurities and everything else that I'm burdened with, I don't have a lot of it, but that's what causes some of that stuff, that's what happens. So love is knowledge, and you will value discipline. Here's another one. The humane care for their animals, the thoughtless neglect them. So here's what that means in today's world. This is proven by psychologists. Go ahead.
How you treat animals is how you treat humans.
That's right. What they determined was most criminals who have done violent crimes against somebody else, they are the ones that abuse animals. So if you know somebody that is an animal abuser, stay away. Which is why Judaism is so focused on animal rights as well as human rights. And I think you know this. We might have been talked about this. If you have a dog as a pet, you're supposed to feed the dog first and then yourself, so the dog doesn't see you eat at the table and sit there scrounging and begging for leftovers. And if you think you're going to have anything for the dog at the end, you're supposed to give it to him at the beginning, and that will help you understand human nature a lot better than you ever would have thought. All right, this one's easy. Guard your tongue and have no false words, and that will stop you from worrying. So in other words, don't lie.
Right.
Watch what you say before you say it. And what is the modern day expression? Think before you
speak.
And why? Because words hurt more than physicality. And he's the guy that thought of that so many years ago. All right, let's go on. Pretending to knowledge reveals your lack of admitting ignorance is the beginning of genius. Wow.
Say that again?
Sure. Pretending to have knowledge reveals your lack of admitting ignorance is the beginning of genius. In plain English, don't run around saying you know everything. Run around, don't pretend you know everything. Keep an open mind, which, by the way, is why you're here today. For those that are not watching this today, and I'm not berating them or saying everything else, that, I know everything, I don't need to sit in, I don't need to read this book, I don't need to do this, I know everything. You can't, you've got that particular smile. But the moment you say, I don't know everything, that's the part where you start to become a genius.
But
now,
nobody knows everything.
but there are some people that do.
They think they do.
That's the point.
But they
They're
don't know
pretending
everything.
that they do, but
No.
they don't. So they've got to be able to admit to themselves that they don't know everything, and they've got to find it. All right, here's one we talked about earlier. Easy money vanishes fast. Honest effort adds value to every success. And I don't think that needs much discussion, because we actually covered that a little bit earlier, but it is just really important. All right, here's one. I'm guilty of this once in a while. So are you. Here we go. An attentive mind flourishes. A distracted mind... I didn't even finish. A distracted mind is barren. So what does that mean? And you got to admit to this. You got to do. Sometimes you're having a conversation with a loved one or somebody else, and your mind flutters away, doesn't it? It flutters. You lose the attentiveness. The distracted mind is barren. By the way, during this past part of this presentation, was your mind distracted? Is there something you missed? Aha, King Solomon covers this. An attentive mind flourishes. Focus on what you are listening to. Focus on what you are reading. You know that is so famous in today's world? Watch this. And I guess, yeah, I'm guilty of that too. And so are you. And I think you are too. So what does that mean? Pre-COVID and post-COVID. You're out to dinner with someone. This is very interesting. I just thought of something. I never even presented this before. So you're out with a loved one. Okay, the phone rings, or a text comes in, or an email. Now you know it because you do it. I do it. I'm guilty. I got to admit it. What do? We stop and we look at the message. Why? Because the message has got to be more important than the conversation. Well, that's pretty stupid. It's dumb.
No, I don't think we do it because we think the message is more. We do it because we're chained to technology. We're chained to our phones. I mean, we hear the signal reaches our brain. Oh, someone sent me a message. I got to look at it. It doesn't mean you think any less of the conversation. It is rude. I admit it. It's rude. But everyone does it.
Nope, I'm going to prove no. Because I just thought of this. Here we go. Let's assume you're out to dinner with 6 people. And you're engaged in a conversation, and your text goes off. Are you going to look at it?
What?
You're out to dinner with 6 people,
right?
And you're engaged in a conversation, and then your phone says you have a text
you're
message.
You're the one that's engaged.
Yeah. You're engaged, or yes,
Okay,
you're talking, or somebody else is talking, and you're listening. Okay, and your phone begins to text. Are you going to lose eye contact in front of 5 other people and look at your text? The odds are not as often as if you were out with your loved one.
Why is that?
I don't have the answer to that yet, but I will research it.
Maybe
I bet you that's true.
Maybe because you figure you'll be lost in the conversation.
Yep.
And you won't be able to know what they're saying.
Or you just, and you probably don't want to face the wrath of a friend.
Like, we're out to dinner, why are you talking on your phone?
Exactly correct. All right, here's another one. A heart filled with pride has lost its way. The good learn to rise above it.
Don't be so, don't brag.
Don't brag. Don't be
brag.
egotistical, okay? If you are successful, keep it to yourself. Don't run around like Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali did and say, I'm the greatest. Now, you're going to argue with me. That was his brand. That made him who he is. I got it. Okay, I got it. But in general, when it's not your brand, where has it been successful where you run around with a super ego? Which also allows me to introduce this. This is one of my Andyisms. I haven't read it anywhere. I believe I made this up. Self-confidence will doom you to failure. Have you ever heard me do this one?
I think so.
Yeah. Self-confidence will doom you to failure. Now, I know what you're saying, Andy, you're nuts. Since I always teach my kids, my grandkids, myself, is to always have self-confidence. You're going to be doomed to failure. Why? Because what makes a person successful in a social life, in any kind of a life, is when another person has confidence in you. That's where you get the promotion. That's where you get the higher pay. That's where you become president of the Mahjong club. That's where you become president of this or that or whatever. And Carol got called up twice here in Bellagio. Not because she exudes self-confidence. Bellagio is a place where I live. Not because she goes around saying, hey, I'm the greatest, but they needed somebody to co-chair 2 different committees. And guess who they called? Out of over 2,000 people, her. Which means what? They have confidence in her, and she does not run around talking about herself. Here we go. Oh, this one's really profound. If you didn't like any of the others, try this one. Even good-natured teasing may cause distress. Be sure that laughter does not end in tears.
Don't make fun of someone.
Don't make fun of someone. Even if you're good-natured. Which also means what? No practical jokes. Now, I'm going to pause again. Carol, I know you said earlier this stuff was interesting, but I'm going to do a litmus test. Was he right in saying all these things, and do they apply in today's life, or it's history, who cares?
No, he was right. It's good advice.
You bet.
And most people don't actually take it.
Yep. All right, here we go. Another one. I want to get a lot in, which is why I'm not spending as much time on some. But if she raises a question on your behalf, I'll be certain to pay attention. Here we go. This one I get in trouble with. This is another one for me. And you know what happens with these things? I got to tell you. When we're done with these and I need some corrective behavior, is that a good way to phrase it? I need some corrective behavior.
This is not a prison. Don't worry.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say correctional facility. Correctional behavior. By the way, I never give her correctional behavior. Anyway, to the point. That was my point. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. What's your point?
You know what? I just well beyond that.
Okay, this one was going to get you in trouble. Which is
the
one
that
was going to get you in
here
trouble?
Here we go. Thank you. A short temper enslaves you. Now, I've gotten better on that. Those who procrastinate are disliked. Andy, didn't I tell you to take the garbage out about 2 hours ago? Now, does she like me when she says that? She loves me all the time. I understand that. But it doesn't say in that love, dislike. So anytime anybody procrastinates, which, by the way, is dumb because you don't think it's as important to you as you think it is to the other person, or you'll say, hey, I'll get to it. Okay, all of a sudden what? They become disliked. This guy, Solomon, was pretty smart.
Very brilliant.
Okay, now I remember what I was going to say. So anytime I need correctional behavior, she says, Andy, do you remember that discussion we had and that little presentation we made? Why don't you use what you said? That's what you always come back and tell me. And here's one. All right, let's go on with a few more. This one we know. Think before you speak. The unrestrained tongue wreaks havoc. Listen to no one and you will fail. Hear what others have to say and you will prosper. Okay? Anger has the power to destroy, but the wise learn how to cool it. I love that one. I just love it. Why? Because sometimes when somebody's angry, what are the 2 words you say to them? Cool it.
Right?
Cool it.
Calm down.
Cool it.
Relax.
Yeah, and what do you think that came from? You know the answer. King Solomon. Yes.
Yes, but some people would say, don't tell me to calm down.
Ooh. Listen to this one. Listen to this one. Those who forgive insults keep their friends. Those who harp on faults are lonely.
Okay. Explain that one a little bit.
Sure. Those who forgive insults. So say, for example, you and I have had years back a tiff. Okay, we had a tiff. Maybe I insulted you. Maybe you insulted me. Maybe in anger because we didn't follow King Solomon, we said things we really shouldn't have and all that kind of stuff. I got it. But if we forgive each other, or you forgave a friend for an insult, you will continue to be that friend. But if I keep on harping on it, what'll happen?
We're not friends anymore.
Yeah, so you know what happens? This does not happen to us. But you know what happens when you do something wrong and the other person says, hey, you know what you did 5 years ago? You did the exact same thing, and 5 years ago I told you not to do it. That's what he's talking about. We don't do that. That's what he's talking about. And I think it's really good. Which reminds me of something else. You know, there's an old saying that says, let's wipe the slate clean. It's another one I hate. This is an Andyism for you. It's another one I hate. Have you heard me do this one? Yeah, it's all right. You remember it? Okay, wipe the slate clean. I hate that. Here's my point. Here it is. Do not wipe the slate clean. Pardon me. After you wipe the slate clean, throw it out. Why do you have to have the slate in the first place? Why do you have to have a memory that only writes down bad things? By the way, if you had a slate, would you write down all the good things? No. Would you keep a list of all the bad things? Yep. Would you violate what he just said about friends and faults? You betcha. All right. A joyous heart strengthens the body. Despair worsens every disease. That is 100% true today.
Yeah, if you're depressed, you have an increased rate of getting something, and if you are happy, it's better for you, for your health.
Yeah, we all know that. We all know that. I don't have to work on that one. Offering advice before listening carefully is both stupid and useless.
Did they actually say the word stupid?
I'm reading it here. Offering advice before listening carefully is both stupid and useless. So what does that mean? Somebody says, hey, I need your advice. That's good. Listen to their problem and identify the root cause of their problem and then give them the advice. By the way, when you give advice, don't give advice that's good for you. Give advice that's good for them. That's what he teaches. I love this one. And then we'll settle down. The toss of a coin can sometimes end qualm and send the contentious on their way. Now, they had coins back in his time. As a matter of fact, those coins had the two triangle. So if we don't know what to do, this is fun. If we don't know post-COVID where to go out to eat, Chinese, Italian, whatever. I don't think we're going to go Italian anymore, but Italian and Chinese. Okay, we can't make up our mind. Flip a coin. Boom! Heads, tails. I got heads, and it sends the contentious on their way. She'll keep quiet because I won. Okay, I got it. Look at the way she's looking at me. You see those? You see the eyes? She doesn't like losing. I guess what I should have, let me rephrase that.
I'm just waiting to hear what you're going to say.
So watch this. Watch this. When you win a coin toss, that's it, coin toss, and the other person loses, how many times has the other person looked at you like she looked at me unrehearsed, and you said, you know what, even though I won, maybe we'll do what she wants to do. Right? That happens. So here's the question. If you were going to do that anyway, why bother flipping the coin? That interesting? If you win but you feel bad that the other person lost, just do it. Okay? Now, some people will come back and say, you know what? I won, so today we'll eat Italian, next time we'll eat Chinese. Okay, I got it. So you're going to have both anyway, right? So the best thing to do is, listen, I want Italian, I know you want Chinese. You know what? Let's go out for Chinese. And the next time we'll go out for Italian. And by the way...
You're making me hungry.
And by the way, don't I do that?
Yes, all the time.
Okay. King Solomon taught me that. Is King Solomon teaching you? Oh, we're going to end with this one. This one's really, really interesting. Here we go. An unruly child causes heartache. Okay, we got that. Right?
Right.
Okay, watch this. I hate to do this. A nagging spouse is like a dripping tap.
It's like a dripping tap, like with the water.
Now, understand, this guy had 700 wives and 300 concubines.
And so you wonder how many of the 700 wives nagged him.
All right. So, you know what? I think we covered a lot of these Psalms today. Not Psalms, pardon me, Proverbs. And I hope that there are some of them that really are nuggets. because they are loaded with them, and you could see the different styles that he was using in some of the different people that wrote them. But I think there's a really important lesson here. Many people always say Judaism is an ancient religion. Of course it's an ancient religion. Nope, it isn't. It is a modern day way of living. Because when you talk about Judaism, you talk about happiness, you talk about fortitude, you talk about strength, you talk about perseverance, you talk about motivational statements that were the ones that really influenced Benjamin Franklin. By the way, you might be saying, oh, what did Benjamin Franklin know about Solomon? Guess who studied Judaism?
He did.
He did. Okay? As many of the other people, one time we had a discussion, I'm not going to go too far, of course, where the whole American foundation was built on Judaism, and many speeches at colleges and Harvard and others were done in Hebrew, and Hebrew one time was one of two languages that was going to be selected as the official language of the United States, and that's when we only had a handful of Jews. Different topic. So King Solomon, with all his wisdom, with all his might, with all his wives, building the temple, talk about perseverance, fighting off enemies, going home to 700, 1,000 different women who said, you can fill in the blanks, and really having an opportunity to have a fulfilling life, left us Jews and the world with a magnificent legacy. So here's my question. I said earlier that King Solomon has mines full of gold, and whoever finds them will have instant wealth and a fantastic reputation. Do you want to be that person? Do you want a family member to be that person? Because according to King Solomon, those who get riches quickly will not have a filling and fruitful life because they're going to be consumed by their wealth. Carol, what do you think?
Well, I think that if people find it, it might become part of history. It could go into a museum. It could go into something for the world to see. I mean, that's like unbelievable.
Right. So
we don't even really know if it exists.
Man, chances are it does. So with that being said, yeah, you can be the one to find it, but don't keep all the riches for yourself. Do exactly what Carol said, very nicely said. Give it to the world, give it to the community, give it to the poor people. I don't necessarily, in addition to museums, give it to everybody to be fruitful. Just as King Solomon gave us all these proverbs and more to live a wonderful, uplifting, fully motivational, and fulfilling life, like we Jewish people say, l'chaim. My name is Andy Greenberg, and with me is...
I'm Carol.
And we'll see you the next time. Thanks for staying with us. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.